Hi, I'm Danielle Dietrich, and I'm an attorney that has been working with DBEs and ACDBEs for a number of years. And right now, I'm obviously working with those companies and their owners on the recertification process that is starting. I am filming this on January 2nd. I'm going to be posting it next week, and this is the second in a two-part video that I'm doing about ways to translate disadvantages that your business is facing into showing how that they were caused by you individually, having that link between the business and you, because the personal narrative is supposed to show your disadvantage as an individual business owner. You personally. It's not about the business generally, it is about you. So you need to translate those. And I'm finding that my clients are having a hard time doing that. They're also having a hard time even realizing that they can do that. They think that, oh, well, all the issues are really like business. It's not me personally. But when you drill down, it's you personally in many cases. So we're going to talk about more of those examples. We talked about four in my video that was posted on January 2nd. And so we're going to talk about four more today. Before we get into it, please like and subscribe. That helps me, obviously, and helps get my videos out there to a wider population. And it helps me be able to continue to make free content for you by getting my videos out there. So I'm going to kind of dive right into it because I kind of went through my intro spiel about why this is necessary in part one of my video. So go back and watch that first if you were watching this without having watched that. So um, we're going to talk about four more situations of issues your business is facing and how to translate those into individual disadvantage or show that they were caused by you individually and your disadvantage. So in the first part, we talked about capital credit constraints, we talked about bonding and insurance barriers, market access and pre-qualification, and prime and GC relationships. So, first topic today is pricing power and margins. So, you may be in a situation where your business has lower rates. There's been uncompensated scope creep, and I know you all hate that. It's your scope is growing, you're having to do extra stuff and not getting compensated for it. Slower pay cycles affecting cash flow. That is also a big issue for many of you on government projects, is the slow pay nature sometimes. And acceptance of rate shifting terms. So sometimes you're put in a situation where you're up against the wall and you have to accept a change order or something that's really not yours without due compensation. So how do we link these situations back to the owner? So um, first situation is maybe you have diminished bargaining power due to limited alternatives. Like you have to take it. You don't have alternatives and you can't finance the company yourself without doing this stuff. So you are stuck accepting a bad situation. An inability to float receivables because of personal liquidity constraints. So I have heard from countless of my clients about all the times that they have had to either, go without pay themselves or dump money into the company, and often both are the situations, and to keep things going. And when you can't do that all the time, so you are backed against the wall that if you don't succumb to their demands, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you can't make payroll and you're going to have to pay that and you can't do it. So you have to meet their demands. So that is another explanation of how you individually and your disadvantage lead to the situation. There's also a perception, perhaps, of that you're replaceable, driven maybe that's driven by bias, maybe that's driven by the fact that you're a small business, or they know that there's somebody else there that'll do the work. So there you go. So the different situations and evidence that you can point to here, the issues involved with pay when paid clauses, if you have any of those in your contracts, and that leads to a significant delay in your company getting paid, and that's really hard for you to float because you're a small business without a lot of other projects going on, and you are not in a situation where your owner has the personal wealth that can keep things going. Comparing the rates offered to your firm versus what are market rates. Is the only way that you are getting the ability to do work is if you underbid take a loss just to try to get experience. Are those the situations that you're facing? So This results to your business in thinner impacts, vulnerability of the business, and you as an owner that expects you, because you can't take money out of the business, then you're not making money out of the business. And it's your personal economic position that potentially forced you to have to accept these suboptimal terms. So it's a vicious cycle. You have to accept these terms because you don't have the money to float the business. All right, staffing, scale, and managerial bandwidth. Also a big topic I'm hearing from a lot of my clients. So you as a business owner, you are wearing so many different hats all of the time. You are usually working with very limited or no back office support. You can't invest in estimating software or particular their kind of software that would make it easier or faster or make a better presentation, or you can't invest in that staff to put those things together, to deal with issues of compliance. So these are all issues that your business might be facing. And why is this? Well, it is probably caused by the owner's cash limitations. So you don't have personal cash to invest to front all of these costs. Maybe you lacked early stage mentorship to help you structure the business and learn how to get the business processes in place properly to make these things go more efficiently, to save you time and how to prepare things better. Maybe you've had to spend a lot of personal time just learning how these things are done that maybe somebody else would have learned from a mentor. This is also where constraints for caregiving and other community obligations. So if you were caring for a child, if you were caring for an elderly parent or an ill spouse, this can lead to all of these issues here. And how do you show this? Maybe there's time logs, maybe there, whatever your documentation is of when you didn't get paid or when you've had to put money in, when you wanted to hire someone, but you weren't able to, quotes for software or marketing or whatever the service was that you just couldn't do because you couldn't pay for it. And then, what are those opportunity costs? What did you miss out on? So the impact is, fewer and not as great bids submitted, deadlines maybe you missed because you were wearing all of these hats. The administrative burdens, tie it to your personal constraints. Um, don't tie it to generic startup growth pains. Don't do that. You want to tie it to your own personal situation. Field and site access incidents. So maybe you're running into on-site delays. Maybe you're getting some additional inspections put on you. Maybe there's a refusal to accept qualified personnel. And this might stem from disparate treatments of you as the owner. Maybe there's scrutiny tied to some sort of stereotype that you're facing. Maybe it is because you are not in the club or in the circle of trust or whatever you want to call it. And maybe you've been excluded from informal decision-making huddles. Maybe there's a group on the project that's out talking about something, you've been excluded from that. So you want to come up with some evidence of this, dates, names, things that were said, examples of disparate treatment, documentation of delays or when you've had to rework something. And, that all obviously hurts you as a business. Uh, and there are scheduling impacts to that, liquidated damages risks, reputational harm. You wanted to show the chain from how you were personally treated in part of all this to the business outcome. Okay, and then our last example is procurement process hurdles. Um, when you are given a very short time during the procurement process to respond or you're getting notification really late, you have to throw something together. Maybe the information isn't really clear. Maybe that there are other folks that are getting the real information in the back end, sort of what they're looking for, what the requirements are. And other thing we see a lot of is subjective scoring disadvantages, where you are scored lower for reasons that your competitors aren't, even though maybe they should be, and maybe you had the better bid package. So how is this caused by the owner? Maybe there's a lack of notice due to relationship gaps, that you don't have those relationships, you personally, as the owner in the face of the company. Maybe you did not get feedback from the prior project. Maybe you asked, I see this a lot too, that asking for feedback from a project or feedback from a unsuccessful bid couldn't get any response, whereas your peers are getting responses. Um, and how do we show this? Showing, times that you got notice versus when the bid was due, scoring sheets if available, those would be great. Side-by-side comparisons where peers received earlier or more complete information, those would all be great. And then showing the resulting impact would be, obviously losing out on the bid, higher proposal costs, all the time you had to put in, being in a situation where you had to drop everything to scramble to get this proposal or bid together, lower award rates, connect this all to the personal access disparities. So, um, this was a lot of information, a lot of different examples, but I hope it will get you thinking that perhaps maybe if you're thinking that there weren't disadvantages that you were facing that were caused by you personally, that you could personally say, maybe this will get you thinking that maybe there are. So, thank you for watching. Again, would love if you like and subscribe. If you are seeking legal assistance to help you in drafting the personal narrative and working through the personal net worth statements as part of the recertification process all of you are facing, please reach out to me via email. It is down below, and I'd be happy to talk about how we might work together. So thank you so much for watching.